South Park has been known all these years as a show that has perfected satire. And they really have. Even after over 25 years, the show still manages to deliver high-quality and hilarious commentary on current events each week. But did you know that the show has actually successfully predicted the future? You won't believe the modern things we know now that were a thing in South Park way before they were our reality. Here's every time South Park's parody becomes reality. First off, have you ever wondered how the show stays so on top of current events? Well, I'll tell you how. Ever since the show first began back in 1997, the show's creators and lead voice actors Matt Stone and Trey Parker write the scripts for each episode just 1 week before it's set to air. That's a pretty tight deadline, huh?
Taking film classes for he was actually a math major and I was a music major, and so we were just taking it for credits. But we were there. We had to make our first thing was a 16 millimeter 5-minute film.
But while it may be rather strict, it's helped South Park maintain much of their credibility over the years. And it's how they stay so up to date with everything. But enough of that. Let's talk about the times the show literally predicted the future. The first one may not be what you would expect, but did you know that the show actually predicted the plot of a movie? Brokeback Mountain to be exact. And they predicted the film's existence long before it existed. Way back in 1998, on episode 9 of the second season, titled Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls, the show captured the essence of the non-existent movie perfectly. When the Sundance Film Festival comes to South Park, all of our main characters attend. While watching one of the films, Cartman declares that all independent movies are about gay cowboys eating pudding. And if you've ever seen or heard of Brokeback Mountain, this description will be all too real. But overall, it's pretty crazy, right? The fact that they were able to make a joke that could be a direct drag about a movie that wouldn't exist for another 7 years is crazy. But this was only one of many times the show has been spot on with a pop culture prediction. How else do you think it got its reputation? Next up, all the way back in 1998, South Park accidentally predicted one of the biggest pop culture moments of 2016. Of course, I'm talking about the very brief period of time when the whole world was taken with the new app game Pokemon Go. Remember when all anyone would talk about was this glitchy, silly game on their phone that brought back that classic childhood nostalgia? It was a very short-lived period, but it was still iconic nonetheless. Anyway, South Park pretty much predicted the whole thing over 2 decades ago in an episode titled Shin Pokemon. Basically, the kids become completely obsessed with a Japanese franchise called Shin Pokemon, and they fixate on every piece of merch they can get. But as it turns out, the devices they were purchasing actually tracked the player's location and would send it back to the Japanese developers. Wow, this one is almost a bit creepy, right? Like, how could they be so spot on with something so niche? Anyway, if this one isn't enough to get you to believe that South Park is quite literally predicting the future on the regular, this next one just might. And just a warning, this one's a bit controversial. But hey, we're talking about South Park here. What else can you expect? In the first episode to air after 9/11, Season 5, Episode 9 may have taken things just a little too far. The episode was titled Osama bin Laden Has Farty Pants. And at the end of the episode, bin Laden is blown up with dynamite and shot to death. For anyone who knows what happened to him in real life, this may be a bit shocking to you. Because how is it that this silly parody cartoon could predict someone's death years before it happened? It seems almost too unrealistic to be true. But the episode aired 10 years before Osama bin Laden was killed. That's kind of insane, am I right? Before this one, the predictions that later came true were rather trivial, so it's a bit shocking to know that they predicted the death of a real person. Although it may make you feel a bit better to remember that the person who died was a terrorist and a horrible person. So there's that. Moving on to another person who was parodied for the show and ended up becoming the exact same as their cartoon counterpart. Season 8, Episode 3, titled The Passion of the Jew, aired back in March 2004. When Kyle rents the film The Passion of the Christ, he demands his money back from its director, Mel Gibson. Gibson was portrayed as an evil anti-Semitic person who spewed hate and abuse toward Jewish people and walked around nude holding a gun. Pretty over the top, I know. But would it surprise you to know that this prediction actually partially came true years later? at the time of its release. The episode was bashed for its offensive and defamatory portrayal of real-life celebrity Mel Gibson. But years after the fact, some of it was becoming all too true. In 2006, Gibson was arrested for DUI, where he shouted anti-Semitic nonsense at his arresting officer.
Gibson was arrested for driving drunk in Malibu in July of 2006, and during the arrest, the actor-director made derogatory comments about Jews and women, tried to escape, and repeatedly threatened the arresting deputy.
The event was famously covered, and it completely changed the trajectory of Gibson's career. Crazy, right? Like the fact that it was so specific, and yet it still happens similarly in real life is wild. Want to know what's even wilder? South Park actually managed to predict an explosive career change for one Disney Channel star. Of course, who else could I be talking about except Miley Cyrus? In a 2008 episode called Britney's New Look, we find out that there's a cult-like news cycle in the media where they offer up a celebrity's career to destroy. They reveal at the end of the episode the ritual they used to destroy Britney Spears' career. But there's one more crazy direction this episode goes in. They then reveal that Miley Cyrus is the next one up for destruction, and they plan to ruin her once innocent and clean-cut career. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know exactly what happened next. Miley Cyrus's career was completely redefined after a number of publicity stunts and wild controversies years later. But what's even more interesting is the fact that her career in real life took a very similar turn to the one predicted in South Park. Her career was temporarily destroyed not even a year later, with her now over-sexualization of herself being the main focus of her once innocent and pure career.
How much weed can I actually smoke and still play a teenage superstar on the Disney Channel? and then like,
What's the answer to that question?
More than you would fucking think.
And yes, you'd probably have guessed where this was going. In the original episode, the exact same thing happened to Miley. The way that they could predict the sexualization of a Disney Channel star is profound in itself. But the fact that they named Miley Cyrus and specifically predicted the next direction for her career is insane. Naturally, with all these incredible instances of predicting the future, sometimes just months before the actual event takes place, makes South Park kind of a credible source of pop culture predictions. I mean, if anyone can predict both the destruction of a pop star's career and the death of a terrorist years before it happens, it's Stone and Parker. So, what do you think? Do you truly believe that South Park and its creators are capable of predicting the future? Or are they just really good at guessing how celebrities and political leaders will behave? I'll leave that for you to decide. But either way, you can't deny that their outrageous parodies make for some seriously entertaining TV, can you? Anyway, that was every time South Park's parody became reality.